This is a live Channels television event.
Without their hard work, commitment, and innovation, this event will not be possible. Once again, you're all welcome. Thank you very much, and onward together.
May we give the Chief Host, the Chief of the Naval Staff, Nigeria, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, Admiralty Medal, a resounding round of applause, please. I knew that when we started this event that we're not complete because the members of the National Assembly had not joined us in the arena. May I at this juncture announce that the supervising the Chairman, Senate Committee on the Nigerian Navy, distinguished Senator Otumba Gbenga Daniel, has just joined us. And the Chairman, House Committee on the Nigerian Navy, Honorable Yusuf Gakti, has also joined us in the arena. It's always a pleasure to have you in the House, particularly when important discourse that would affect technology. Our technology is deepened in the Nigerian Navy, for Nigerian Navy, and for our operations. It's always good to have people that are prepared front join us for the conversation. Without wasting any more time, I think it's time to listen to our special guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of State for Defense, Dr. Bello Matawale, member of the Order of the Niger, to come forward and give his keynote address. And it's on this note that I most respectfully invite on stage the special guest of honor to make his address. The special guest of honor, sir.
Chairman, Senate Committee on Navy, His Excellency Otumba Gbenga Daniel, former Governor of Ogun State. The Chairman, House Committee on Navy, Right Honorable Gagi, members of Diplomatic Corps, Service Chiefs and Inspectors General of Police, Head of Navies and Coast Guard from allied nations here present, Icon of Navies, Principal Staff Officers from Defense and Service Headquarters here present, General Clerks and Air Officers Commanding, Commandant, Trial Services Institutions here present, Commanders, Commanding Officers of Military Establishment, Captain of Industries, and Prince of the Navy, officers and men of Nigerian Navy, as well as allied nations here present, distinguished invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored stand here before you today at the 6th Seapower for African Symposium, a maritime exhibition. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Chief of Naval Staff and dedicated personnel of Nigerian Navy on their impressive 70th anniversary. This significant milestone reflects the Navy's unwavering commitment to safeguard the territorial integrity of our nation within the maritime domain and beyond. As we gather for this pivotal occasion, I would like to warmly welcome all delegates, head of navies, and international maritime experts who have joined us. Presence of such distinguished individuals, both from Nigeria and beyond, highlight the collaboration spirit and shared dedication to addressing the diverse security challenges facing Africa's maritime landscape. Today, all gathered, we are poised to explore innovative solutions and forge partnership that will enhance our collective security. Once again, I extend our warm welcome to everyone to this memorial event. Ladies and gentlemen, navies are an indispensable aspect of the global economy as they underpin the security, stability, and freedom of movement essential for maritime trade, which constitute approximately 90% of all world trade by volume. By safeguarding critical sea lines of communication and preventing disruptions to trade, naval forces serve as steadfast guardians of international commerce and economic stability. In light of this immense responsibility, the BR navies are continually evolving and repositioning themselves to address the complexity of an ever-changing security landscape in our shared maritime domain. The transnational and interconnected nature of maritime threat present formidable challenge which often transcends the capacity of individuals, nations, or navies to address independently. It is therefore imperative to recognize the significance of collaboration initiative amongst African navies and beyond. We are fostering resilience partnership aimed at enhancing collective capability, which can forge a credible maritime defense framework that ensure the security of the higher level goals of the Africa Integrated Maritime Strategy 2050, such as preventing hostile and criminal acts of sea into actual naval objectives. This strategic alignment not only promise to fortify our defense, but also underscore the philosophical understanding that true maritime security is a shared responsibility demanding concerted effort and a unified resolve. It is on this note that the 2026 Seapower of African Symposium with the theme Leveraging Technology for Enhanced Maritime Security in Africa is considered timely. This symposium is organized to provide an enabling platform for stakeholders to discuss and passion out best way to employ current and emerging advanced technology to maximize existing collaboration, maritime security, architecture towards combating maritime crime in Africa. Indeed, the same act as it encapsulates some of the major objectives of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 14, the vision of Africa's Integrated Maritime Strategy 2050, and the key target of Africa's Agenda 2063. The sixth version of the symposium convened at a decisive strategic inflection point of the continent as the blue economy moved to the forefront of Africa's developmental agenda. Our maritime forces must evolve from tradition, coastal defense, to active facilitators of economic security. This forum serves as a catalyst for integrating cutting-edge technology, including unmanned system, AI-driven surveillance, and enhanced data sharing network into our operational architecture. The objective of this establish a secure, transparent, and projective maritime environment that serve as foundation for collective regional prosperity. To this end, the Nigerian government remains unwavering in its commitment to the modernization of the Nigerian Navy. We recognize that operational success depends on domestic readiness and regional synergy. Consequently, we will continue to prioritize the support the Nigerian Navy's collaborative framework. It is believed that this support is crucial to ensuring that Nigeria remains a dependable partner in the enforcement of good order to sea across the Gulf of Guinea and beyond. I wish to commend the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, along with all heads of navies present for their diligent effort in addressing threats in African waters, fostering a safe and secure environment essential for economic prosperity to all stakeholders gathered here. I encourage you to leverage this forum as a catalyst for enhancing international cooperation on maritime security. Together, let us strive to build a secure, prosperous, and sustainable maritime future that benefits our people and generations to come. I invite you to embrace the wider economic opportunities in Nigeria while also immersing yourself in our driving cuisines and the rich cultural heritage. With that, I have the distinct honor to declare the 2026 Seapower African Symposium officially open. Thank you all for your attention. Onward together. I thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Our special guest of honor for the opening for the 6th Seapower for African Symposium, the Honorable Minister of State for Defense. Please, may we give him a resounding round of applause, please. Thank you. Without any further ado, we shall now proceed to the highlight of this year's Seapower for Africa Symposium, beginning with the first strategy session, subthemed Innovative Surveillance Technologies for Improved Maritime Domain Awareness. We are honored to have with us distinguished speakers from academia, the maritime industry, and across government circles, who will share their insights and experiences on various aspects of maritime security, proffering solutions towards improved maritime domain awareness for enhanced naval operations. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, to moderate this important conversation is the 23rd and immediate past Chief of the Naval Staff, Nigeria, a distinguished admiral who holds a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics and a master's degree in strategic studies from the University of Ibadan, among several other qualifications. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming our moderator, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, retired. Please can we give him a round of applause as he makes his way on stage. Our ushers, please help with administering the Admiral. Joining him on stage is our first presenter, His paper, titled Unmanned Aerial System Technologies in Maritime Surveillance, our presenter is an academic and aerospace engineer. He currently serves as the Deputy Commandant of the Air Force Institute of Technology and holds both a master's and doctoral degree in aerospace engineering from the Cranfield University in the United Kingdom. Notably, he made history as the first serving officer in the Nigerian Air Force to attain the rank of full professor. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Air Vice Marshal Professor O.C. Badike. The senior officer will be speaking on unmanned aerial system technologies in maritime surveillance for 10 minutes. Our second presenter will speak on optimization of satellite technology for improved maritime situational awareness. Our presenter, a distinguished scientist and researcher with extensive expertise in ecology, environmental science, and space-based applications. He serves as the director of the Atlantic International Research Center at the National Space Research and Development Agency and holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree in ecology and environmental science. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Bolariwa Olutayo Balogun. Our third presenter will speak on artificial intelligence and the integration of big data in maritime surveillance. Our third presenter brings a wealth of international experience spanning over 3 decades of military leadership and strategic management. A retired United States Naval flag officer, he served with distinction for 33 years and has continued to contribute significantly to maritime and organizational leadership globally. Our esteemed presenter holds a Master of Business Administration degree from Franklin University and is also a certified Six Sigma Black Belt. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rear Admiral Patrick Scott Aiden. I've invited all our presenters as well as the moderator for this first event. I would like to draw the attention of our presenters and the moderator to the screen just ahead of you. So in case you want to moderate, you could just look at the screen and then you will know exactly how much time you have to complete your session. Having completed the ground rules and invited all our presenters, it's now my singular honor and privilege to hand over proceedings to the moderator for this session, the immediate past Chief of the Naval Staff, Nigeria, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, retired. Sir, the floor is now set.
Okay. Thank you very much, the MC. Well done. First, let me recognize the special guest of honor for today, His Excellency Dr. Bello Mohammed Matawale, the Honorable Minister of State for Defense. I also recognize the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, my good friend and colleague. Let me also recognize all the distinguished heads of navies that have traveled far and wide to attend this Seapower for Africa Symposium here in Lagos. I also want to welcome our distinguished icons of the Navy and all the resource persons who have been invited to contribute to this symposium. You are all welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, I think our task this morning is to take on these three subjects. And all the three subjects which have been already mentioned are derived from the theme of today's discussion, which is leveraging technology for enhanced maritime security in Africa. Of course, we've already listened to the CVs of the various presenters, various discussants. For instance, AVM Obadike, a good friend of mine who I've been with for a very long time, and he has been doing exactly what he's going to do today, researching in unmanned area vehicles. Also, Dr. Bolarinwa, we all know him from our space agency and the good work he has been doing in that regard. He's also a distinguished scientist, and we'll have a lot to learn from him today. Of course, Admiral Patrick, a very good friend of the Nigerian Navy. I don't think there is any symposium we have organized without his input. I'm happy to be with you in this panel. You're welcome. So without wasting too much of our time, we have a total of 1 hour for this discussion, where each of the discussants has 10 minutes to make his presentation. Thereafter, we will take the interactive section, which is about 1 hour also. Now, but before I hand over to the discussants, I want to just talk specifically on the theme of today's discussions, which is leveraging technology for maritime safety in Africa, maritime security in Africa. And with this theme, there is one question I always agitate my mind. How has Africa been coping in terms of following advancements in technology? That's why I believe that the theme for today is very, very, very apt. If you look at advancements in technology, including the three topics we are discussing today, we'll think that it is something of the 21st century. But technology has always been evolving. For instance, when you talk about unmanned area vehicles, I can say that everything you utilize for air warfare that is not manned by a human being can be considered as unmanned area vehicle. And if you look at this history, it dates back to use of missiles, drones, which are things that we cannot say it just started now. But how have we been coping? These are the main issues. Also, the second topic, which is about optimizing satellite technology. Of course, we know that right from the time of the Navstar satellite systems, which were used for our navigation and other forms of satellite technology, the world has moved very far. How has Africa been coping with these trends? Now, in the modern time, we are talking about artificial intelligence and big data with all the benefits that arise from it. Of course, we all know that artificial intelligence gives the capacity for predictive learning. That means that we should be able to even predict how our operations will go. And this area is fast changing and fast evolving. How has Africa been involved in this fast change? Are we just there as consumers, or we are part of the overall innovation? These are the questions that I think we'll be able to get answers from the discussants. So without wasting time, I will start from my left and go right there to my extreme right, starting from AVM Obadike. The floor is yours.
The special guest of honor, sir, permit me to continue on already established protocol, sir. This morning, we'll be discussing the topic. Can we have the slide, please? Unmanned areas systems technology in maritime surveillance, imperatives for maritime forces in Africa. Navies are known by the number and the type of ships they have. But equally more important is the ability to see, understand, and respond across maritime domain. Our maritime spaces are economically vital and strategically significant. So maritime domain awareness has become important for us to understand activities and events around the maritime space. I see. So, despite the strategic importance of our waters, African navies face significant surveillance challenges. And these challenges are as a result of the vast exclusive economic zones, the limited patrol assets we have, and the increasing maritime security threats. Okay, I think somebody can be changing that from the slide there. Let's just, since this is not working, just continue, please. Next. So, these current realities is driving the adoption of new surveillance technology that will ensure persistence and cost-effective maritime awareness. Next. And unmanned area vehicles is well positioned to serve this purpose. Next slide. So my aim this morning is simple, is to discuss unmanned area system technology in maritime surveillance with a view to highlight strategic options for African navies. I will look at maritime threat environments and other scope items as shown on the screen. I will start with maritime threat environment. Next slide. Next. Our environment, as we know, we have so many challenges, starting with piracy and armed robbery, up to illegal migration and human trafficking. Then we also have the challenge of maritime terrorism, illicit traffic of persons and goods, as well as oil theft and illegal bunkering. Next slide. But why have these challenges persisted? The first reason is that the area we need to cover is large. Next slide. And we cannot maintain persistent surveillance. Our conventional maritime assets also have challenges because they are insufficient. So unmanned area vehicle is becoming very important in this area. Let's talk about the importance of unmanned area vehicle in maritime environments. What does unmanned area vehicle bring to the table? First is persistent surveillance. They can cover vast area and remain airborne for long and monitor large EEZ. Next. They can also transmit real-time intelligence to headquarters or to command centers. And they have lower operating costs when you compare to manned aircraft and other assets. They also reduce risks on personnel. So unmanned area vehicles have become force multipliers, and they can extend situational awareness, responsiveness, and operational reach. Some application areas are shown on the screen. We can use unmanned area vehicles to protect our offshore oil and gas infrastructure. They can also give us cost-effective surveillance solution, rapid response and intelligence gathering, improvement in our border security, maritime borders, and anti-smuggling operation. Next. We can also use it to enhance our maritime domain awareness to be able to see and report We can use it to combat illegal fishing, countering piracy and armed robbery, and supporting search and rescue. These are some of the use areas for manned area vehicle. Next slide. There are some already operational unmanned area vehicles used in different countries, starting with the Sea Guardian by the United States Navy, the Orbiter, the Scan Eagle, the Shebel, and the Takeaway. There's many of them, but I'll just show some of them here that are being used for maritime domain awareness. However, despite this use, there are some challenges. Next. The first challenge is the issue of manpower. We have limited number of technical expertise in this area. Next. Then also, because we don't develop this, there's also the issue of foreign dependence. And this can be, we can have supply chain disruption that will affect our operation. Unmanned area vehicles also require large capital outlay. Sometimes the cost of acquiring the drone is more compared to the cost of maintaining it over its time. And it will compete with other naval priorities. Funding sources, most African countries are based on annual budgets, so we have to plan ahead of time. We also have organizational and cultural risks where we neglect unmanned area vehicle for other assets. And there are occasions where we buy assets without actually determining what we need them for. And we always have issues. Despite the challenges, we also have emerging UAV technologies that we can leverage on. Next slide. Next. So the first technology is the advent of dual-use systems, where some UAVs meant for civilian use can be used for the military. You can see on the left here, a manned helicopter has been converted to UAV. It offers us economy of scale and makes available spare parts. Next. The next is commercial off-the-shelf technology, things you can go and buy. On the left is a commercial drone that you can buy for less than $70,000, but on the right is a military equivalent, nothing changed, but you can buy it for greater than $500,000. The same thing with autopilot system, but the takeaway here is, next slide, next. We don't have to pay a premium for something we can get ourselves. Next slide. Artificial intelligence is key to modern ISR. Can you play this? Just watch this video for 1 minute.
Get Ringo around the other side to identify the woman. That's Stanford. Hawaii 5, confirm PID, please.
PID, Susan Hill and Danford.
The takeaway from this movie, next slide, is that all cigarette packets do not contain only cigarettes. All insects are not only insects. The Big Brother is watching you. All thanks to artificial intelligence and militarization. Next time you are on your ship and you see an insect staring at you, please look at it properly because it might be an ISR platform. So what are the strategic imperatives for African navies? We need to invest in cost-effective, affordable system. We don't have to go for the big bang. Commercial off-the-shelf drone can do the work. We need to prioritize human capacity development by training. We need to know what we need before we purchase. Next. We need to establish dedicated UAV maintenance and operation units. Avoid neglecting UAV in favor of familiar platforms. We need to develop capacity for artificial intelligence and machine learning. We also need to enhance our research and development initiative to support the UAVs we have acquired. We need to enhance public-private partnership and encourage surveillance as a service. We need to adopt hybrid architecture where we use the UAV to search and then our ship can interject. There's also a need to collaborate at the regional level because collaboration is important. We need to make effort towards self-reliance and develop clear UAV map, timelines, capabilities, and milestones. Next, we need to promote commercial off-the-shelf reverse engineering, and we need to galvanize our academia, industry, and the hobby community. My final thoughts, sir. First, UAV for maritime surveillance is no longer the exclusive reserve of advanced navies. Security threats within our maritime domain will not wait for us to catch up. Adopting and adapting UAV technology is no longer optional. It's a strategic imperative. So by pushing low-cost systems and commercial off-the-shelf systems, African navies can leapfrog. UAV is the new compass of naval warfare, the periscope of 21st century fleet, the radar of tomorrow's battle space, and the silent guardian of the coast. So for African naval forces, we need to master it, integrate it, and wield it with vision. But let's remember, if we want to walk fast, we walk alone. But if we want to walk far, we walk together. So for African naval forces, let's work together and work together. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, AVM Ubadike. Please, for the good presentation he has just given to us, I think we should give him another round of applause. I think now we'll go to the next subject of discussion today, which is to be handled by Dr. Balogun Bolarinwa on the topic optimization of satellite technology for improved maritime situational awareness. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Okay. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. My name has been introduced, and then where I work. I'm with the Nigerian Space Agency called National Space Research and Development Agency, and I oversee the activities of the Atlantic International Research Center. The Atlantic International Research Center deals with all countries within the Atlantic Basin, and the objective is to look into the healthy development of the resource for development of blue economy, and then of course for safety and security of the nations that are within that basin. My presentation has this rundown. So we'll be looking at the conceptual underpinning of MSA. We'll be looking at the definition and scope, and then, we'll also look at the contributions of the Atlantic International Research to satellite technology optimization. In that regard, we'll be looking at internal wave service, and then sea-state monitoring applications, and then we'll look at the imperativeness of national, institutional, and then intergovernmental collaborations. Okay. Please? Okay. All right. So, maritime domain has a lot of issues, and obviously that is why we are all gathered here today. And then the issues range from the coverage of the domain. You're talking about 5 vast, oceans, and then that covers extensive parts, of the world. And then you're also looking at uses that are, that vary to a very large extent, ranging from navigation to communication, oil and gas, exploration to food provisioning, and then to mineral mining, to pollution. Then, of course, the use of that resource for scientific research, and then for security purposes. And then we look at the environment surrounding that resource, which are generally termed coastal environments, the activities and their impact on that resource. And then you're looking at an environment that has a very large population, a high population concentration, which is largely poor and uneducated. And then you're looking at how remote that environment is, and then when something is remote from government attention, and spotlight, a lot of activities go on there that are unregulated. And then it could stretch over a very long distance. And then so it means that it will require a lot of effort, to look at, the maritime situational awareness of such a very big resource. And then we look at maritime situational awareness. So what does it mean? It means effective understanding of activities and conditions and threats within the maritime domain. Then so it integrates, surveillance, monitoring, and information system to support decision making. And the results from that, that analysis that are done, from all those multi-sources and data gathered from all those multi-sources are used for security, for environmental management, and then for economic activities. Next slide. So we've had progression in maritime situational awareness. And then so we started from the days in which people were physically going to the resource to understand it, going on boat, just like so many African countries might still have to do, because of low funding that they have. And then moving from that to area observation. In the two, there are so many limitations that are not actually helping the cause of maritime situational awareness. And then from that, we progress into optical, into space-based observation. And then starting with optical satellites, most African countries still operate at that level. And then and then that comes, with a lot of challenges too, even though it gives a continuous monitoring, capability beyond the first two, the in situ and the area observation. And then from that, we move to synthetic aperture radar, to where you can, overcome the challenges of optical sensors. Optical sensors can only give you information about activities on that domain or within that domain during the day. But then you are having capabilities now that can work all night, that can work all day and in all weather. And then again, moving from that again, to automatic identification system, to RF geolocation, that is radio frequency geolocation, and BIRS. And then again, so there are so many issues that are there, even though capabilities are being developed every day, to meet with the dynamic nature of that domain, but challenges persist. And the challenges that persist, are counted in terms of the amount of data, that are received, downloaded, the size of a satellite image, very heavy. And then the latency that is also involved in downloading them, to the ground receiving station, working on them and then sending the resource back. Even the downlink, aspect of it can be a very huge challenge. And then we have AI's manipulation, even despite AI's, in spite of AI's that is there, it can be manipulated, it can be switched off, by rogue vessel operators. And then even for the sophisticated actors, can even disable transponders. And then they can spoof their GPS position so that they might not be discovered. And then we are having long revisit time too, between satellite passes, that can make it very long before, detection is made and then actions can be taken. And so, and then we're having a subsurface, domain that remains largely, unmonitored, because even the microwave sensors that we have penetrates only to a very, few centimeters. And so there's a need also to have on the surface, unmanned vehicles. So please, next slide. And then so we have optimization of space-based observation. Optimization then becomes very necessary. And then when we talk about optimization, what do we mean? So we refer to a systematic enhancement of satellite capability. And when you are thinking about that, you are not thinking about just one. You are looking at sensors capability. How do you enhance sensors capability? How do you enhance orbital, observation? How do you enhance data processing architecture? And then you are looking at integration with complementary modalities, complementary integrated efforts, integrated, systems, so that you can maximize the timeliness, the accuracy, and the actionability of maritime intelligence products. And in doing that, what is currently being used is artificial intelligence and machine learning, detection system, which gives results, and then, gives results that are higher than 95%, in accuracy. And then we have edge computing too. People have graduated beyond, that into edge computing. Edge computing, doing it over there, by onboard systems, satellite systems, and then just bringing down in that form that you need it. And so latency is reduced. The need for too many data, bulk data to be transferred, is also reduced. Then you look at multi-domain fusion, so that a lot of domain, bring in data, and then they are integrated to bring out better results. So benefits of optimization of satellite, optimization of satellite technology for MSA. We have faster detection, we have dark vessel capability, so they can recognize dark vessels. They give persistent coverage, and then AI enhanced analytics gives accuracy that is over 95%. This enables, IUU fishing interdiction and trafficking prevention. Next slide. So I come to the effort at the Atlantic International Research Center, which is on internal wave service. So what is internal wave service? It's a subsurface waves propagating along density interfaces within the ocean, that is between layers of different temperature or salinity. So they give different densities, and then the satellite can't penetrate to observe, but then they are observed using detectable patterns on the ocean surface. And then, so in this, we are using Sentinel-1, which is a synthetic aperture radar imagery, and then Sentinel-2. And then the reason is that from June 2024, a global data set was gathered, and between 2020 and 2025, we gathered even for Africa. And then why do we need to do internal waves, for MSA? Because it influences ship navigation, causing vessel instability. It impacts on submarine operations, and then it can even affect offshore infrastructure, pipeline, hurries, communication cables, etc. And then if you look on that's on the left, that is internal waves, observation detection of internal waves, within the shorelines of West Africa, and then of course into the sea. Please, I won't be able to do so much, explanation on this because of the time constraint. So if there's, need for questions, I will be glad to handle them at that point. So to the next one. So if you see this is the current internal wave service map, which shows known places that were attributed to occurrence, of internal waves. But then recently, like I said, we began to have them even within the shores of, West Africa, and then along that the African coast too. So this is becoming, problematic. And so next slide. Then, so why are we doing sensor optimization for ocean internal wave detection? Because we have a lot of negative detections. We have a lot of inconclusive detections. So, and then Sentinel-1 C-band is susceptible to high wind. And so for us to be able to have something that is reliable, and then to be able to use for policy and then for regulation, we need to optimize so that we can have something that is reliable. And then so we are developing a model. We are training the model with the collected data, and then the model is going to help us to classify them into negatives or positives. And then this has been able to produce results with over 95% accuracy. And then again, so please, next slide, we have the sea state application development. So this is, we are looking at the condition of the sea state along the 8 littoral states of Nigeria. And we are looking at the significant height, we are looking at wave period, sea water velocity, temperature, salinity, and sea surface. This is very useful, for vessels that ply, on our coastal waters. Please, I wouldn't also be able to go too much into that. So in conclusion, we have, so our strategic outlook and vision is that we move from data to actionable intelligence. And then in this, we need to know that satellite optimization transforms maritime surveillance from reactive to proactive function using automated intelligence. Then emphasis must be on systems integration, not sensor improvement alone. The global maritime commons are shared. The waters that we have been talking about, they are shared resources. So their security must also be a shared responsibility. So we need to, so this will be done by developing committed collaboration across navies, which is being done. I heard the Chief of Naval Staff mentioning that yesterday. So across navies, government research institutions, and the commercial satellite industry. And then we need to sustain government, industry, and academic collaboration, because that will be essential for interoperability and then interoperability standards and professional education. So the last slide, please. So that is, I give credit to Google Gemini, where we took all the conceptual illustrations from. And I really want to thank you. Last slide. So thank you for your attention. Your engagement in advancing satellite technology for maritime situational awareness is vital to securing our oceans and global commerce. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Balogun, for the very thought-provoking lecture on artificial satellite technology. Like I always say, these technologies, they will keep on evolving, they are dynamic, they keep on evolving. And the fact that we cannot turn back the hand of the clock means that we must, at all cost, keep pace with that technology. Thank you very much. Can we give him another round of applause? Now, the third lecture today, or discussion today, is artificial intelligence and integration of big data in maritime surveillance. I think this is one area that looks like very, very modern. So I think we have to listen very carefully to Admiral Patrick on this particular lecture. Admiral, the floor is yours.
Distinguished Chiefs of Naval Staff, Admirals and Flag Officers of sovereign maritime states, Commanders, Maritime Security Practitioners, international partners, and esteemed guests from across this continent and beyond, it is a profound honor to stand before this distinguished assembly at the 6th Seapower for Africa Symposium. I was at the 5th Seapower for Africa Symposium in uniform, so thank you for having me back. Before I speak of technology, I must speak first of the host, as it speaks to innovation and advancement. 70 years, 7 decades of sacrifice, service, and sovereign resolve. The Nigerian Navy, established in 1956 and forged through the crucible of national trials, has grown from a modest coastal patrol force into what the Global Firepower Index recognized in February of 2026 as the strongest naval fleet on the African continent. That is not a footnote, that is a testimony to institutional discipline, to generational commitment, and to strategic vision, sustained across 10 presidential administrations, through civil war, through economic headwinds, and through the full spectrum of maritime threat evolution. The Nigerian Navy's contribution to Gulf of Guinea security has been nothing short of transformational. 4 years ago, Nigeria exited the International Maritime Bureau's list of piracy-prone countries, a milestone that reordered the global maritime risk calculus for the entire sub-region. Through Cutlass Express, through the Yaoundé architecture, through bilateral, multilateral naval engagements, the Nigerian Navy has been the organizing spine of regional maritime security in West and Central Africa. The Gulf of Guinea, the economic lifeline to 16 Western African countries, is measurably safer because of the Nigerian Navy's commitment. And now in this milestone year, Nigeria is not resting on that legacy. It's accelerating it. This week, at this anniversary celebration, the Gulf of Guinea Combined Maritime Task Force was launched. This is a landmark moment for our collective maritime sovereignty. Conceived by Nigerian President Bolo Tinubu at the African Union Assembly in Addis Ababa in February of 2025, and operationalized with firm commitments from Cote d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, the CMTF represents the most significant multinational maritime security development this region has seen in a generation. It is a ready-to-deploy rapid force capable of coordinated operations against piracy, armed robbery, trafficking, IUU fishing, and maritime terrorism across the Gulf of Guinea. And Nigeria will host its headquarters in Lagos. To the Nigerian Navy, and to the government and people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, on behalf of the maritime states gathered in this hall, we say thank you. Now, let us build upon that foundation. We gather at an extraordinary inflection point. The seas that wash against the coastlines of our maritime states The Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, and the waters of the African Great Lakes are simultaneously this continent's greatest economic asset and its most complex security frontier. The blue economy generated nearly $300 billion and supported 49 million jobs in 2018 alone, with West Africa's coastal zone generating 50% of GDP. These same waters are stalked by piracy, illegal fishing, costing the continent an estimated $11.2 billion annually. Narcotics trafficking, human smuggling, and the specter of maritime terrorism. The central question before us is not whether artificial intelligence or big data will transform maritime surveillance on this continent. They already are. The question is whether your sovereign states will lead that transformation or merely receive it. Let us be clear. What your navies and coast guards are contending with today. Across 39 coastal states responsible for more than 13 million square kilometers of exclusive economic zones, over 100 ports, traditional surveillance methods have produced what analysts candidly call sea blindness, a fundamental ability to see, track, and govern what is happening in our own sovereign waters. But there is a second crisis compounding it, one that deserves its own name: wealth blindness. The maritime domain of your sovereign coastal states is not a security burden. It is a treasury. Africa's blue economy generated $296 billion in value in 2022, with projections of $576 billion by 2063. Fisheries alone contribute $21 billion in gross value added annually. Coastal zones in West Africa generate 56% of regional GDP. This is extraordinary wealth, sitting directly beneath the waves that lap against your coastlines. And yet, the states that are sovereign over this wealth largely cannot see it, cannot quantify it, and cannot protect it. That is wealth blindness. You're among the richest maritime states on earth by ocean endowment, and are operating blind to the full scale of what can be possessed and what is being lost. Seeing blindness and wealth blindness are inseparable and mutually reinforcing. What you cannot see, you cannot protect. What you cannot protect, you cannot leverage for the prosperity of your people. And the consequences of this compounded blindness are devastating in measurable terms. $11.2 billion lost annually to illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing across the continent, with $9.4 billion of that concentrated in West Africa alone. 40% of the world's illegal trawlers operate in West Africa's waters. China's bottom trawl fleet alone extracts an estimated 2.35 million tons of fish annually from around this continent, valued at more than $5 billion. Fish catches in Ghana collapsed 59% between 1993 and 2019. In Cote d'Ivoire, overall catch plummeted over the same period. These are not abstractions. These are the stolen livelihoods of 7 million people in West Africa who depend on fishing for food and income. This is the cost of blindness. And the adversaries exploiting that blindness are not waiting. So let me say this plainly. The world we are in is already in an information war at sea. Our adversaries are already using asymmetrical tools in that war, and they are winning engagement after engagement while our maritime operations centers are still looking at incomplete pictures. The emergence of dark vessel operations marks a fundamental shift in the threat environment. These are ships that deliberately deactivate their AIS transponders, broadcast false position data, conduct covert ship-to-ship transfers in our waters, and disappear from every conventional surveillance systems we have. The Dark Fleet is not an abstraction in distant waters. 98 vessels were reflagged to our maritime countries recently, exploiting regulatory gaps across Africa. The Lome anchorage off West Africa's coast recorded over 1,650 high-risk ship-to-ship transfer operations in 2025 alone, 420 of them in a single quarter. These transfers involved sanctioned cargo, illicit oil, and contraband, conducted in sovereign waters in plain sight of the ocean, completely invisible to the tracking systems. These are hidden fleets, and they are already attacking you. They are not attacking with missiles, they are attacking with information concealment. And the weapon is sea blindness. Conventional AIS-dependent maritime domain awareness cannot counter this threat. GPS jamming incidents affected more than 24,000 vessels globally in 3/4 of 2025. Our adversaries, whether state-sponsored dark fleet operators, IUU fishing syndicates, or others, understand surveillance architecture better than we do. They are engineering around it deliberately. This is why the discipline our navies must now adopt is not merely technological, it is doctrinal. We must evolve from a reactive model in which we respond to incidents after we discover it, to a predictive model in which AI-driven behavior analytics identifies vessels likely to engage in illicit activity before they complete it. This is not a futuristic aspiration. Africa is not starting from zero. The strategic architecture exists. It is a foundation worthy of investment. The Yaoundé architecture, born from the 2013 summit, layered information sharing framework connecting national maritime operations centers to regional coordination bodies, is precisely the organizational infrastructure required to host AI-enabled surveillance systems. The YARA system and the Djibouti Code of Conduct for the Indian Ocean Rim provide analogous frameworks for Eastern and Southern Africa. AIMS 250 provides continental policy anchoring, though it must be updated to explicitly incorporate AI-driven surveillance and autonomous vessel technology, a call that security analysts from the Institute for Security Studies have made urgent in 2025. What these architectures currently lack is the AI integration, the analytics engines, the data pipelines, and the trained human operators that transform raw information from sensors and patrol ports into actionable and predictive intelligence. So given these realities, there are 5 priorities that offer a practical roadmap for African maritime nations at varying stages of capability development. Priority 1 is invest in maritime literacy at the command level. AI systems are only as effective as the commanders who employ them. Priority 2, mandate national maritime operations centers as AI integration nodes. Every signatory of the Yaoundé Code of Conduct is expected to maintain a maritime operations centers. These MOCs must evolve from information collection points into AI-enabled analytic hubs. Priority 3, pursue data sovereignty and pooling simultaneously. African nations must resist the temptation to accept gift surveillance from systems from external powers, whether it's China, Russia, or others, that embed data dependencies and reduce sovereign analytic capability. Priority 4, deploy AI for IUU fishing interdiction as an entry point. For many African navies, the most immediate and economically significant application of maritime AI is combating IUU fishing. Priority 5, develop a continental AI governance framework before it is too late. This is the most urgent and most neglected priority. Today, 0 African nations have a unified legal framework to regulate autonomous maritime systems. Distinguished colleagues, we stand at a moment of choice. The AI transformation of maritime surveillance is not coming, it is here. The global maritime AI market is growing at 38 to 40% annually. The tools that can give African navies eyes across the vast ocean spaces are accessible today, many at low and no cost. The sea does not wait. The dark vessels are already out there. The IUU fleets are already stripping Africa's fisheries. The trafficking networks are already exploiting the gaps in our maritime picture. There is the architecture, there are the partnerships, there is the imperative. The only remaining question is there the will? I'm confident the navies assembled in this room do, and I look forward to the day not far off when African Maritime AI Initiative stands as the model for the world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Admiral. I think this lecture is one of the most expectant for me, and I believe for many of us, because when you listen to artificial intelligence, data, and all this, you know that these are the modern things we need to transform our maritime operations and to become much, not only cost-effective, but improve on our accuracy as in our maritime operations. And the Admiral has just done a very good work in this respect. So please, can we give him another round of applause? The special guest of honor, the Chief of Naval Staff, the Chairman, Senate Committee on the Navy, my chairman, Senator Otumba Benga Daniel, the former governor of Ogun State, Chairman, Senate Committee, House Committee on the Navy, Right Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, all other distinguished guests and invited dignitaries that are here. I'm sure that we have something that we have learned from each of these discussions. And I believe that they have agitated our minds, and many of us are eager to ask questions and to clear doubts. But one thing I personally has picked from these discussions is the fact that there is no going back. No going back in terms of the use of technology in maritime security operations. And if there's no going back in that respect, then if we have to follow very well. Follow in the sense that not only as followers, but as participants in these fields. Having said that, I will leave the floor open for you to ask questions, starting from my left-hand side. So please, if you have questions, particularly the heads of navies and the icons of the Navy, and our distinguished dignitaries, please indicate. I've already seen my chairman has raised up his hand. Sir, you have the floor, sir.
Let me also quickly acknowledge and appreciate the discussants, our amiable former chief of staff. The question is very simple on UAVs. And as we're aware, this is the new instruments of modern warfare. Sometimes these UAVs fly very low. And my simple question is how do you prevent the UAVs being compromised, being attacked, being brought down? That's my simple question.
Thank you for that question, sir. I think we'll take all the questions, then we'll address all of them thereafter. But please, Evie Mubadike, note that this question is for you. Thank you. Next question, please. Okay, I've seen you. Please, the floor is yours. No, give him the mic. Give him the mic.
Good morning, and thank you very much for an insightful panel. My question goes to Air Vice Marshal Obadike. So you mentioned collaboration, and especially with UAV technologies moving forward. How do you see that collaboration, firstly, within Nigeria with the different arms of services having different requirements? And how do you set a single UAV platform that can meet all those requirements? and then expanding that secondly to a region, be it West Africa, the whole African continent, and then a little tag on at the end with regards to surveillance as a service. Where some companies do provide that, what is the feeling about having foreign nationals operating a UAV on a national asset, be it a Nigerian Navy vessel? So that's my two questions to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this question is still for AVM Obadike, but if there's any member of the team that wants to elaborate on the answers, you are free to do that. Please, next question, please. Okay, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Fred, yeah, can you hear me? Really? No. Okay, thank you. So, head of delegation, France. A very interesting brief on the internal waves. So, my question is on the internal waves. When do you envisage some application, operational application of what you are experiencing in terms of internal waves? How do you intend to deliver some tactical decision aids or whatever you might imagine to help people take care or avoid internal waves? Thank you.
Thank you. This question, I think it goes to you, Dr. Balogun. It's about internal waves. So, any other question, please? Yes. Our chairman also. Right Honorable Gagdi. Please give him the mic. I think you should have the mics at strategic places so that it will be easy for you to, yeah.
Thank you, the moderator. I stand on already established protocol. My name is Yusuf Gagdi, Chairman, House Committee on Navy. My own is regarding to the issue of Nigeria's commitment to, competing with other international communities regarding to maritime technology or advancing our technologies. In a situation whereby you acquire a platform, and some of these countries, you get those platforms from them, suffocate you from, giving you the recent and modern technologies in terms of navigation equipments in a particular platform. How do you intend to address this? Because I've seen situation in conducting oversight functions where you see some of those platforms when you acquire them, they don't give you the current navigation equipment technologies as well as information that you will be able to compute some of those maritime related activities. What instigates me to ask this question is having heard from someone that asked about allowing maybe international persons to operate a platform. How do you equally address the issue of international developed countries giving you platforms without giving you the technology that will address the maritime security issues? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this one is a general question, and when it's time to respond, I also have something to say about this. But among the discussants, if you have suggestions on how to address the issues he has raised, you are also free to talk about that. Please, any other question? Okay, yeah. Which hand am I seeing there? Allied participant? Okay, give him, yes. Let's listen to our international partners so that we can pick something from their discussions before I will give the floor to some of our own officers to also make their contribution. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Timothy Walker. I'm from the ISS in South Africa. I think this is a general question, but perhaps to Dr. Balogun in particular, because it was prompted by his presentation. Could you describe some of the ways in which this is an opportunity for African navies to leapfrog? I think we'd all like to know a little bit more about those opportunities. And the second one, it sounds like we're getting closer to real-time observation. Is that true? Are we looking in the near future at the potential for national maritime operating centers to possess as near to real-time decision-making abilities as possible? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. It's a general question also, and I think either the CNS or the Chief of Operations may have something to say about that. Any other question, please?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, my name is Hamilton Souza, head of Navy, Saint Tome Coast Guard. According to the satellite systems, talking about one country that can have this system and don't have boats to go there, how far we can go with an image from satellite system?